What does success mean to you? What does that mean? What does it look like to you?
I'm dyslexic, and at the time we didn't have a label for it. I just felt dumb. I just felt slower than everyone else, and I'm not pretty enough to do this. I don't know, it's such a stupid thing to say.
What pressure do you feel about looking a certain way when you're on these apps? Do you feel that pressure?
Huge pressure. Huge pressure. If you want to achieve anything in life, find someone who's already done it and either be their friend, read their autobiography, learn everything you can about that person. The one variable that can change the trajectory of your life is your life partner.
Yes, I live by this.
Yes. And I had all these discussions before I even kissed him. I just haven't been raised like the typical female. I'm not going to be here to serve you. I think Instagram is the absolute worst. As I'm on it myself, but I compare myself to other people.
Yeah.
Even I feel low after I've been on there. Who created the beauty standards? It's the ones with the money. Who created the magazines is the ones with the money. And this is why representation is so important. Yeah. We need representation everywhere at the top level, not as a cog in the machine.
Agreed.
We need women at the top of politics because even policies affect women. Marriage. Okay, so my pearl of wisdom on marriage.
Welcome back to the Mindset series with me, Dr. Veena. Today, I have someone very special to me sitting across me. She's not just a very successful businesswoman and entrepreneur. She's a health expert, YouTuber, and health influencer, and also a very dear friend, like I mentioned. I'm very lucky to be sitting across a woman who doesn't just inspire a lot of us in the health industry, but also on a personal level. She's a wife, a mother of two, and always there for you. One of those friends who's always there for you in times of need. Dr. Vanita Rattan, thank you for coming here and giving us your time.
My pleasure, my honor.
I'm so excited to be talking to you about a lot of topics that I think I've wanted to kind of rack your brains on in this kind of setting.
Let's do it. I'm so excited.
How are you today?
I'm good. I literally took the whole day off just to relax before now.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad
ready.
you relaxed. I'm going to dive straight into it, right?
Let's do it.
You wear so many hats. You do so many things.
Yes,
and
a lot.
so many of us look up to you and you inspire so many of us. What is Vanita's mindset on a day-to-day basis?
I'm pretty strategic, to be honest. I'm very clear about what I want my life to look like. So I know, for example, how many days per week I need just for me time, where I do nothing but watch TV and bum around. I know how many days that I want to grow, and that means reading, learning, and improving upon my business or as a parent. I know I need 1 day a week with my husband just as a date day. I think it's really important for my mental health. Otherwise, it's not good. Like, I need that connection. And then I also schedule time for my children. So I know how many hours I need. I do one-to-one time with each of them rather than two-on-one. I cannot do two kids on one human. It doesn't work for me. I need that one-to-one time. And then with my work is one of those that sort of seep into every area of my life. And there is no 9 to 5 with my work. No. I could be working at midnight. I could be working at 1 in the morning.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it. We've been on shoots, and while we're changing outfits, she's like, "Guys, time for a reel, time for a reel, time for." And I'm just like, this woman doesn't stop. And then we're traveling, and you're editing, and then you're emailing, and I'm just like, I don't. But to get to that stage, it must now be so natural for you to be like that.
Yeah, it is. I think at the beginning, I really struggled because don't forget, Veena, when we started, Facebook wasn't even around until after I got married. That's so late, just even to start Facebook.
Yeah.
I remember Instagram happened after my kids were born, and my little cousins were going, there's this thing called Instagram. And I was like, what is this ridiculous thing? Well, it's just photos. I don't get it. Yeah. And we had to understand a whole new medium. We had to have growth set mentality. We had to figure out how to film, how to edit, how to have the confidence to even stand in front of the camera. I remember thinking, I'm too old for this. Am I pretty enough to be on Instagram? I remember at the time there was all these bikini pictures, and there's me in my lab coat, and I was like, who's going to want to watch me teach about niacinamide? I really didn't think there was anyone that wanted to know about, skincare. So
how wrong you were.
I know. I think COVID happened and people really got into skincare, but just all the limiting beliefs that we all have. I went through the same journey as everyone else.
But I think the difference is you didn't allow those limiting beliefs to limit you, if I can say so.
Yeah. What happened? Noreen, one of my staff at the time, I remember we were in clinic and she said, "Doc, we should film something." And I was like, "No, I can't." Noreen, she's like, "Don't be ridiculous. Let's just film something.
Right.
You've got this." And I just said it. I said, look, I'm not pretty enough to do this. I don't know. It's such a stupid thing to say, but I really...
Those were your words?
They were my exact words. And she just she laughed at me. And I was like, that's the best response you could have given me.
Yeah.
Okay, let's film something. Let's try.
Yeah.
And people wanted to watch and they asked questions
Yeah.
and they were interested. And I thought, okay, let's do this again. And then you become hooked.
Well, I just want to reinforce you're 100% pretty enough to be on screen, behind the screen, to be in our hearts, to be in our lives. So take that out from wherever that comes from.
It wasn't me fishing. I was just saying, you know what?
No, I know. But I think it's not just women, even men feel that, right? You have to look a
Yeah.
certain way and all of this. But I think with what you do, it's not necessarily the aesthetic, it's the value out of knowledge that you provide, which is an astounding amount of knowledge that helps everybody else
you.
improve their day to day. So I think you should be really proud of that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I definitely grew more confidence. The more you do it, the more, you get positive feedback and negative feedback. They'll say, actually, Dr. V, we don't like this. And can you improve this? And, as long as you're learning and you're improving, you get better and better. So I've noticed that even with my numbers and it's all reflected in your numbers. So at the beginning, might get 100 views, might get 200 views, and you're learning, improving until those are in the thousands and then the tens of thousands. So it's all just growth set. If you're prepared to keep improving, critically improving, never giving up, you're going to succeed. There's just nothing that can stop you.
Consistency.
Absolutely. It's not even intelligence. I think there's a big misconception that it's all about how bright you are. You don't actually need to be that bright to do medicine, for example. It's very hard to get into medical school, but actually the medical degree's not that hard. To do everything you don't really need to be that bright. What you need is grit. You need resilience. You need to be obsessed actually with your goal. And I know that's a really unfashionable thing to say. It's not a cool thing to say, and it's not something that the kids in school want to say, that they're obsessed with a specific subject. But honestly, if you want to succeed at anything, obsession is essential.
I 100% agree with that. So I don't think it's unfashionable, uncool
Really?
at all. And it's interesting you say that because I was with Stephen Bartlett the other day at one of his talks, and he was talking about with AI and ChatGPT coming along, some people may put their heads in the sand and think, I don't want to deal with this, it's too much for me.
Yeah.
Or people with a growth mindset will think, okay, this is interesting. What is it? Let's just look at it. Let's just try and understand a bit of it before this takes over our kind of field. Yeah. And that was probably the same shift that happened when Instagram came.
Absolutely.
Back in the day.
Absolutely.
And that's the kind of mindset you need to have of, we don't know what this is, but we're not going to be completely averse to what it has to teach us or what it has to show us. And I think that's what will actually differentiate between what people end up doing. For
sure.
Isn't it?
For sure. And it actually, the change is exponential.
Yeah.
So what our parents had to deal with in their lifetime is compacted.
Yeah.
What we've had to deal with in 5 years is actually going to get faster and faster. It's almost going to get to a point where every year you're going to have to learn new skills.
Yeah.
This was alien to our parents' time.
Absolutely. And
Back then, you could have done medicine and you would have been fine.
Yeah.
Now, you have to have done medicine. You need to understand how to be a public speaker. You need to have a personal brand. You need to be able to video edit. Yeah. And that's just the bare basics. Now, you're going to have to understand AI. You're going to have to understand how you can add value to people's lives in ways that people haven't thought about yet. You've been even more creative. Yeah. I think growth mindset is really going to have to be fundamental to the next generation more than ever.
I couldn't agree more. And it's funny you talk about grit. Have you read the book, Grit?
I might have done. Do you know, I try and read a book a week sometimes.
No, because there's a formula in there which literally explains what you say.
Okay.
It talks about everyone has some level of talent when you come into this world, right? Talent plus effort gives you skill.
Right.
Once you're skilled, add effort to skill, you get achievement.
Yes.
Achievement could be monetary, fame, game, whatever. Yeah. So in essence, to get from talent to achievement, it's effort. That's the key ingredient.
Yes.
And in essence, that's grit. That's resilience. So that's what takes you far, not the inherent talent you may have. It's the grit that you keep going. You're knocked down, you get up, you keep going.
Absolutely.
So I totally agree with you on that,
In fact, I'd even argue that the kids that were really naturally bright at school don't necessarily hit the top of their game in anything, because actually grit is more important than the natural talent, unless of course you're Beyonce and it's all about how well you can sing. But for most professions or most businesses, grit is going to be everything. And so it's actually the kids who were sort of middle of the class, not the brightest, but had to work the hardest, prove to themselves they could be successful. Those are the ones who practice that muscle. Yeah. And it's not something you're born with. It's a muscle that you have to work at, which is the good news. So good news is anyone can do it if they if they really are obsessed with what they're trying to achieve.
And just trying. I think
Yeah.
the fact that it's not trying, like keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
You know, just going off that, what does success mean to you? What does that mean? What does it look like to you?
Success for me is happiness. It used to mean something different when I was younger. I thought money equaled happiness. I thought money was the goal. For me now, the aim of earning money is to help as many people as possible because that leads to happiness for me. So ultimately, what really makes me happy is service.
Yeah.
So the goal for me is happiness, but also for me to help the most number of people, because again, I'm strategic with that as well. I want to help millions of people. You have to earn a lot of money in order to have the resources to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty strategic even with that, because that also equals my happiness. So I don't know if that sounds
that's
selfish
beautiful.
or
It doesn't have to sound anything. It's your definition of success. And
that's for me.
it means different things to different people, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's beautiful, actually. And I really hope you get to where you need to get with it. Were you always like this? Were you always such a go-getter, or did something happen that made a shift?
Yeah, I think having immigrant parents is a huge part of it. Being the first child is a big part of it. And my dad always says he raised me like his first son. He didn't differentiate between girl and boy. He gave me the best education, really invested money and time in my education. He would sit there doing my geography with me and my history with me. Like, he didn't need to invest all those hours, but it really was important for him. So that was a big part of it. But on top of that, I'm dyslexic. And at the time, we didn't have a label for it. I just felt dumb. I just felt slower than everyone else. And when you had to stand up and read in class, the words are jumbling up and I'd be freaking out. And I'd think everyone was laughing at me. They probably weren't. They probably didn't even, they just thought, that's just Vanita. But for me, I was like panicking.
But it's hard when you're going through it, isn't it?
Yeah, I was panicking. And so that was part of it. Then my English wasn't very good. And I remember my English teacher saying, look, you're going to get a C. And for me, that would equal death. Yeah. It really equaled death because it meant I couldn't get into medical school. And my parents would kill me.
Spoken like a true South Asian child.
Exactly.
C equals death.
C equals death. It was binary. And I remember thinking, I can't even say that to my mum and dad. They'll kick me out of the house. So they just, I wouldn't be able to live.
I hear you.
So I thought, what do I need to do? I went on Tony Robbins' course, which was a self-development course, and it taught me it doesn't matter what your teachers think. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks of you. Only you decide your potential.
Love it. How old were you when you did that?
14 years old.
Stop.
The best time to have done it as well, just before GCSEs.
Very, very formative year, isn't
it?
Yeah.
And that's the one lesson I would give to anybody. It doesn't matter what your mum thinks, what your friends think, what your best friend thinks. It doesn't matter. Only you decide your potential. So that was the first thing. And the second thing he taught me, which was invaluable, is if you want to achieve anything in life, find someone who's already done it and either be their friend, read their autobiography, learn everything you can about that person. What have they read? Who did they learn from? What was their inspiration? What's their strategy? So I did that for everything from English, where I had Heidi Evans literally sit with me, go through my essays and say, okay, this is what you need to tweak.
Yeah.
And I did it, in German, geography, and every single subject, and, ended up getting all my A stars and A's.
I'm guessing there was no C.
No, there's no C. And that was the proof to myself. So having that one proof, it's not even the grades, it was in my heart. I realized if I could do that when the person in authority told me I wasn't capable, what else can I achieve?
That's incredible. But you know what, Vanita? I'm sure you'll agree with me, who you voice these things to can really be impressionable. So say you have this big idea of doing something and you voice it. Oh, I'm going to start a podcast. Yeah. If you're surrounded by person A who goes, nah, oh, here we go, you're going to try do another thing. Yeah. If you're not strong enough, that could really grind 100%. You down. But if you're in front of person B who goes, oh, that's great, tell me your idea, that might kind of excite you. So if you don't have your core rooted, I really think people around you can influence you to sway one way or another. So if you think of yourself as like this tree, that's how I see it. Yeah. You have to have your roots really grounded so you can sway, but you're not uprooted. Yeah.
True.
Do you agree?
True.
Yeah.
And I would even take it one step further, and I would say hand pick the people around you. Hand pick your friends and even your family to an extent. If you know that there's family members who are not going to be happy for you, who don't really want to see you succeed, don't tell them your big dreams, right? You're only going to tell those people who you know are your true well-wishers. And I say this to my daughter too. you're in a class full of a lot of children. Everyone's got different personalities. Who are the ones who want to see you succeed, who help you and that you help them? Those are the people you want to keep around you. And I told her that the 5 people she surrounds herself by is going to be the cumulative effect of her future.
Yeah.
So pick wisely. Don't pick,
But she's really young though, right? And children are kind of, they're going to evolve and change as they...
you know what? I just remember these are such important years, like 10 years old. I remember at 10 years old, the bully in the class, and I remember how that impacted me. And I remember the kid who had my back and made me feel stronger. So it really impacts you more than ever in the future. Those, until you're about 16, 17, from 8 to 17, those are very, very important years. So I feel like I want to get all the life lessons in for her now before she starts to pull away from mummy. But that's one of the important ones, is if mummy's not your guiding force, then make sure you pick your guiding forces carefully and in line with what you want for your future, because this is your life. You're in charge of your own life. You have to take responsibility.
This is parenting 101
I know.
and a half. I think when I'm going to have kids, I'm going to literally come to be like, okay, can I have volume 1? Can you please post it to my house?
Well, let's see how it turns out. Let me do the experiment and then I'll let you know.
But, because you mentioned that, are you quite conscious about the people you surround yourself with?
Absolutely. Right. The most important human in my life is my husband, actually. So I think the one variable that can change the trajectory of your life is your life partner.
Yes, I live by this.
Yes.
Because I have waited and waited. I'm not married yet. And the amount of people that tell me you've statistically avoided a divorce by now.
Yeah.
And it's true. And I'm like, but honestly, if it's not the right person, I just don't see why just attaching to somebody to please society is going to be the answer.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. That person... So I don't know if I should go into this, but
go for it. Go into it.
Everyone's going to think I'm even more odd than they already do. So I'm very strategic with everything, including my life partner. So, again, at 14 years old, in my formative years, we did work experience. And I went to my auntie's law practice. Yeah. She was a divorce lawyer. And I asked her what are the top 5 reasons for divorce.
Stop.
And so she told me what they were. And so I used to pray every day. And those were my first 5 things that I said, that, to avoid. And then plus the 5 things that I wanted. So every day I prayed for these 10 qualities in this man that I wanted to meet at university. I'd planned it all out in my mind that I was going to meet this person. Yeah. And I even created almost like a gauntlet, like a questionnaire with scenarios. And
This is you at 14?
So I'd written this. So it evolved. At 14, I knew what the 10 things were, and then it evolved. By the time I got to 18, I had a whole, like an assessment. Like you would say you have a PA, you would give your PA an assessment before you hire them. But we don't seem to do that when it comes to our life partner, the single most important decision in our life. It almost seems to be based on attraction and family and just a couple of bits and bobs, not the key 10.
I hear you. I'm with you. Yeah.
So
are you going to give us a couple of these qualities?
I don't know if I should.
A couple, maybe one or two.
Okay, I'll give you a few. So I'll go for the big ones. Number 1 is, if they get angry, do they become violent?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's really important. And so I would,
make him angry one day. Make him angry to see what happens.
Just to check. And then I'd apologise profusely afterwards. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I just needed to make sure.
Oh my God, that is. But the fact that you can openly talk about this, and it's not like you tricked anyone. You told him afterwards.
Yeah, I did, of course, immediately. So he gave me the perfect response. I was like, I need you back. Come back. Then there's some other ones. So number 2, I said, I'm very ambitious. What happens if I earn more money than you? How would you feel about that? And he said, that'd be great. I'd love you to earn more money, then I can relax. And I was like, that's another brilliant answer. Then just number 3, I said, I just haven't been raised like the typical female. I'm not going to be here to serve you. For me, everything is equal. I would expect to earn equal money, equal co-parenting, equal household chores. Like everything would be 50-50. And that's just how I was raised. And are you going to be okay with that? Because not every man will be. Yeah. So I had that very frank discussion, and I had all these discussions before I even kissed him, So this is as friends, you're having these conversations, because I just said, look, there's just no point dating me if...
No, but this is literally what they teach us at church. So,
really?
you know, like I go to church, our pastors, this is what they tell us. When you're
Okay.
courting someone,
Yeah.
these are the discussions to have about
Brilliant.
money and beliefs and,
Brilliant.
you know, disagreements. So that when you start
Yes.
dating with that intention, because you're dating to marry,
Yes.
where are you taking this? Yeah, so
Exactly.
that's quite incredible.
Oh, I'm so glad they teach you that. That's I haven't heard anybody actually talk about
Yeah,
these.
yeah.
Everyone looks at me like I'm so
No,
odd.
it's very normal.
I'm so glad. Yeah.
I mean, for people who want to take it seriously, I'm
Yeah.
not talking about our current culture of things.
Exactly, and that was the other thing is. So when is the greatest chance of finding someone that you're going to want to marry? And I realized it was probably going to be at university, where I'm in a London university. There are 5 different London universities, and if I'm in year 1, looking at year 3, they're a little bit more mature. I just done the math, so I was looking at year 3 while I was in year 1. Just got to uni.
Okay, V, I'm going to just tell you, this is not I done the maths. This is some calculations, algorithm, Pythagoras theorem on love that she then, her poor husband, who then had to be on the receiving end of all these formulas. This is hilarious.
I couldn't believe that
this
she
is gold.
existed.
No, but that's amazing. And you've found a good balance now with your personal and professional life?
Thankfully, yeah. So he is really the key to everything. He, honestly, he's like my number 1 out of the 5 people around me. Then I would say my mum and dad. I talk to them about everything before I do anything. My brother, he's just amazing. Honestly, he would sacrifice his own goodwill with my mum and dad to have my back. You know, that type of person who just, no matter what time of day or night, I know he's always going to be there for me. So really would count him as one of my best friends as well.
Yeah.
And then my other close friends and cousins, you know, we've got an outer circle, but my core circle, I'm very lucky, happen to be family, but it could be hand-picked friends as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, with all these challenges, all this growth, all these new opportunities coming at you, say something doesn't go your way, especially when we talked about COVID. And I followed your journey about how you had the Hyperpigmentation Clinic.
Yeah.
That was a physical clinic.
Yeah, 4 clinics. So just a chain of clinics. Then COVID hit, the first lockdown hit, and we were nervous, but no one really knew what was happening. And we were losing money because we have to pay for rent and rates.
And there's not small amounts of money.
Yeah, it wasn't. And plus my staff weren't, they were self-employed, which means they couldn't do furlough. And so we were paying them as well out of our savings. Then the second lockdown hit and we were getting really scared and we had to make contingencies because I just said to my husband, we can't carry on like this. What are we going to do? We've got 2 kids and we've got to pay for everything. How are we going to do it? So we made a decision. Thankfully, I had my own laboratory and I had already started on social media. I said, how about if we see if I can grow big on social media and create products for sale globally? It might fail, but let's just try because I'm at home anyway. I'm not doing anything. So let's just try. So I got to a point I was making 5 YouTube videos a week. I was on Instagram every day. There was no TikTok at this point, but, you know, I was working very, very hard on that. We grew quite quickly. So right now, I think we're on 820,000 followers on YouTube. And
which is phenomenal, by the way.
Which is like...
Yeah, which is phenomenal. It's not a small...
It blows my mind.
Because I do YouTube. I've done it predominantly for dance.
Yeah.
And that's a complete different ball game. But I know the amount of work and effort and energy from picking a thumbnail to editing to releasing to then promo. It's not a joke.
No,
so
long
well done.
form is hard.
Yeah.
Really hard. But there's high barriers to entry, which is great, which means that there are fewer people going into that market. So I did it and it worked.
Yeah.
And the great thing about this particular thing that I was doing was that I got to assess all the brands on the market. And I never really looked at anyone else's brands before. You know, you're so focused on what you're doing. Suddenly I started realizing what is on the market. The vast majority of this is not good.
Yeah.
And so then I started asking my followers that ideally this is what you need, but it doesn't exist. Would you like me to make it? And it was just overwhelming, yes. So then I made my first product and it was a big success. And we sold out, I think, within a year. And I'd had to mass produce as well. It wasn't even like I could produce in my own laboratory. We used a contract manufacturer and we made thousands of everything.
Yeah.
And that did really well. So then I thought, okay, so then what's the next thing? And then I would just ask my followers, what would you like me to make next?
Yeah.
What would you like me to make next? And how would you like to be packaged? I literally went through every step of manufacturing with my followers. They told me exactly what they wanted and I made it for them. And at the same time, all the social media was growing. So that when it came time to the third lockdown, we just thought, you know what, we just have to shut this because this is not working and this is starting to work.
That must have been hard though.
It was really hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard. And I mean, what can you do? You just didn't know. It could have been a fourth and fifth lockdown. And we almost had to assume that we were working on limited information, partial information under time of stress. And we had responsibilities. So we just had to make that tough decision.
Yeah. And I think it's hard, isn't it, being a leader like that when you're in charge of other people's incomes and salaries and people are looking at you for answers. And sometimes the answer may not be what everyone wants to hear, but you have to still take that path.
Yeah. But I think after we started, I realized this was the right thing to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Because this is scalable. I get to help a lot more people, not just in London.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's actually fulfilling my purpose, which is I want to help millions of people.
Yeah.
And this way I get to do that.
So
for me, it actually ended up working out, but it easily could have failed.
Yeah. But I also think that's credit to who you are as a person.
I don't know.
I mean, if you were a different type of a person, I think you're being humble. If you were a different type of a person, you would have just seen that as, oh, this failed, now what do we do? But you just were like, okay, now what do we do next? And I think that's the beauty of understanding the mindset of someone like yours, of when you hit a brick wall, you get a shovel and start digging a hole. You don't just hit it.
We haven't got a choice, you know. It's your back's against the wall and you're not on your own. You've got kids. You will do whatever you need to when you have children to put food on their plate, make them feel safe, make them feel like they're living in abundance. You will do everything you can to make that happen.
Oh, that's incredible. And, you know, saying that you have kids, they're on social media now.
Yeah.
How do you police that?
Very interesting, actually. So I had it's a very interesting one because I don't want my daughter to have her own phone.
Okay.
Whereas most of her friends have a mobile phone.
And how old is she?
She's 10. She's 10.
She's 10, yeah.
So we're having a really interesting conversation with her friends where half of them have phones and half don't. But they're going to get them in the next year or so. And I don't want my daughter having a mobile phone. I don't want her having her own accounts. I think it's very bad for your mental health. I think the authority of the parent reduces once they're looking at their peers and they're comparing themselves to unrealistic, you know, filtered photos of other people. And remember we talked about mental health of children and how it's rapidly declining in their teens, primarily because of social media. So for me, I don't want her having a mobile. I want her studying.
Okay, real question. When does that barrier lift?
I know. So my aim, and I could be completely ridiculous, and please write down in the comment section if you think, Dr. V, you are dreaming, but this is my dream. I'm creating in the house a lovely, like fun, like teen zone for the kids.
Okay.
Where they have a pool table and they can watch, you know, do Nintendo Switch, and it's just it's their own chill out area, like the loft. I'm just literally converting it. She can have her friends over, she can have sleepovers, she can do what she wants.
Right.
But it's under my roof. I can see what's happening, and it's not on a screen. It's not mobile phones where I don't know who they're talking to. I want them to have that. I want to have a really good relationships, but I want it on my terms so I can see what's happening and I have some sort of control and also some sort of influence on the other kids.
Yeah.
That's really important too. So having having great conversations with the other kids and opening their minds and talking about success and talking about successful habits, what they should start now if they want to achieve X, Y, and Z. I can't do that if it's not under my roof.
But what I'm going to ask you next,
tell me.
everyone is probably going to ask you, at what age are you going to give her a phone? Because you're going to have to give her a phone.
I know.
V, she's gonna go somewhere, go on a trip. How are you gonna? You
Someone
can't
said
Bluetooth
that.
her. You
told
can't
me.
put an Apple tag on her. You need to know where she is.
I know. Do you know what? It's not even the phone. It's the social media apps. And I can't police. They can easily download a social media app and then delete it.
But then there's way to police them. And what if there are social things that she would also learn culturally from the apps that will make her more relatable to her peers? What if she misses out on all of those cultural things? Like meme culture is how most people communicate now. So teenagers. I'm not talking about 10-year-old. I'm talking when she hits 13.
I actually think TikTok's the best out of the three. I would say it's not. So I think TikTok, actually, I learn a lot on TikTok.
Yeah, I learn a lot on TikTok.
I learn about other people's perspectives, and I would love for her to learn that stuff. What I don't want her to see, actually, I think Instagram is the absolute worst. As I'm on it myself, but I compare myself to other people.
Yeah.
Even I feel low after I've been on there, which might be shocking for other people considering I'm on there every day.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing this thing that makes you feel sometimes quite sad. But you do compare yourself to other people and you think, oh, someone else is doing better than me, and what am I doing wrong, and do people not like me, and you might get one negative comment and it just plays on your mind. It's utterly ridiculous. And I'm an adult who's already been successful. Imagine if it's affecting me. How is it going to affect a child who's never achieved anything where they themselves can go, you know, I've done this.
No, I respect your perspective for sure. And, you know, you're the
nervous.
parent. No one's going to, I mean, you need to keep us posted on how this goes.
I know, I'm so nervous.
That's the only thing, isn't it?
It has to happen. But I want it to be one of the last to happen.
Yeah.
But at
I think
the
it's
same
going to
time,
happen.
That's why I'm also trying to put her on my social media so she doesn't feel like, you know,
completely
she's
missing
getting
out,
some of the, you know, the cool dust because she's on mummy's social media and like, you know, she's getting to do it that way, but it's under my control. That's what I'm nervous about, is losing control before she's independent and able to make her own decisions. I don't want to give it too quickly and then she's in trouble and now I've lost control.
Yeah.
So
no, I hear that. And I think a lot
tough.
of people are going to have comments about this.
I would love to
Because
hear.
there is no perfect answer. And you're the
Yeah.
parent. You get to decide. Do you helicopter parent? Do you parent from a distance? There's different styles, isn't there? There's no right
I
answer.
think no one knows what they're doing right now. Honestly, I'm telling you, I don't know what I'm doing.
We're just learning and
We're
going along,
learning as we're going along. I'm reading every single book I can get my hands on. I'm trying to understand child psychology.
Yeah.
And also, as the influencer myself, I know what's happening on this end. A lot of parents don't sometimes know what it's like, you know, being on there. So I'm trying to use all that information to do the best for her. But ultimately, I'm making it up as I go along. And I even said to her, it's like, Sienna, you tell me, like, if you think I'm doing something wrong, you tell me. She goes, here's what she said to me. She goes, Mum, can you Google when I can actually have my own Instagram? And it said 13. And I go, let's have a look at TikTok. It said 13. She goes, but Mum, at 14, I have to start that exam. You know, the GC exams? I was like, the GCSE. She goes, but then I can't go on it because then I have to be studying. I was like,
It's working.
It's working.
It's working. It's working. You just sit there going, I'm going to give
trust.
myself applause for myself, like an arti. Khud ki arti utaro.
I was going to my husband, I was
It's
like,
too funny.
Teach and trust. Teach and
can't.
trust.
But, you know, talking about social media, and you're not just talking about any topic, you're talking about the beauty industry, aesthetics.
Yeah.
Let's be absolutely honest.
Yeah.
What pressure do you feel about looking a certain way when you're on these apps? Do you feel that pressure?
Huge pressure. Huge pressure. You can look at your own numbers and you know that if you've not got your makeup on versus if you have your makeup on, you're going to have bigger numbers here and less numbers here. You know, it's quantitative. It's not even like anyone has to write anything down. So, or if you look better here versus here, you know, people are more interested or the algorithm has picked it up more and is going more viral. So if your goal is to reach as many eyeballs as possible, help as many people as possible, you just look at why this post did better than this post, right? It's not a matter of opinion. It's just
So I'm gonna
oh my God, tell me, I'm
ruffle
nervous.
some feathers here. No. So I had Dr. Elena as one of the guests recently, the
Okay.
geriatrician, and we were talking about aging and
Yeah.
the pressure on women and aging, and we were just saying, you know, when someone compliments you, oh, you look so young you look good for your age, or you don't look as old as whatever. And there used to be a time where I used to get really happy about that, but then after a while I was like, but what if I did look my age? What's wrong with that?
Agreed.
Because it's the most natural thing. Like
Agreed.
aging is the most natural thing,
Agreed.
and you know, having recently lost my mum who didn't even get to see 65, when I now see people in their 80s, I think it's such a privilege.
Beautiful thing, yeah.
It's a privilege. Of course, it has its own flaws,
Yeah.
but it's a privilege you get to see old age and you get to
Yes.
see that part of life. So
Yes.
I don't know, I'm very like...
What is it all about?
Yeah, I'm like, so what if
Yeah.
someone looks so what if you have a few lines? Yeah, do aesthetics or look a certain way for yourself if it helps you.
Yeah.
But I'm very much
I
of
think
the dialogue
part of it is the patriarchy, actually, if I'm completely honest. I think part of it is who created the beauty standards is the ones with the money. Who created the magazines is the ones with the money. Who decides what photos go into a magazine is the people with the money. And who's that? It's not the females. The females don't own the magazines. It's the men. So whether it's a concert, a rock concert, or a Beyonce concert, or a magazine, or whatever it is, whoever owns Instagram, who is writing the algorithms? Who is writing what's decided what beauty is, right? So if the men are deciding what beauty is, they're looking at who the most fertile females are. They don't look at the 40 plus women because fertility reduces at that point. So they wouldn't handpick, oh, let me go and pick the 50-year-old woman over the 20-year-old woman if it was up to them. Now it's starting to change. Now we're starting to get representation. And this is why representation is so important. We need representation everywhere at the top level, not as a cog in the machine.
Agreed.
We need women at the top of politics because even policies affect women. How can men create policies that affect women's bodies? It's insane.
It's insane. I know.
Whether, for example, down to the toilets, down to the
Trust
toilet
me.
situation. Everybody knows the female toilets are lines are 2 to 3 to 4 times longer than the men's toilets.
Yeah.
And if a female had designed the toilet, she would have given the females 3 times as many toilets as the men. Instead, the men created urinals, and so they get to, jump in and out and not wash their hands. They're disgusting. It's disgusting. And the women are sitting there in the cubicles with the exact same number of toilets. So, I mean, it infiltrates every aspect of our lives. And this is why representation of women at the top of every field is what is something I'm incredibly passionate about. As you can tell, I'm going red.
No, that's a good point to be made, actually. But do you know what I mean about that pressure and trying to just break that whole...
It's not coming from women.
Yeah.
It's not coming from women. This is 100%. And because, say, for example, you're trying to get ahead in your job, who's the one that's going to promote you? Generally speaking, who's sitting on the board? Why can't you come in with no makeup on? Why can't you come in completely barefaced and like hair not done?
Yeah.
They're not going to take you seriously because it's men sitting on the board and they have their own view of what they think you should look like.
I mean, if I'm honest, at work, I normally get a much harder time from women than
do
men.
you?
Normally, yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I just feel like, not in the medical world, but in a lot of... even business ventures and things, what my personal experience, I don't know if you've had the same thing. I've had more senior women give me a harder time than senior men.
Why? What do they say?
I don't know. They just make it a lot harder. I remember even being a medical student and having GP consultants or surgeons who were women who would give me such a hard time unnecessarily. And now that I'm a consultant, I'm like, there was no need for them to be that horrible to me.
Correct.
And then the men would just get you to do what you needed to do, sign you off and let you go. And it wasn't even anything to do with the way I looked or anything. We were on rotation. You were in scrubs and stuff.
No, that's different.
But I don't know why the women... That was my experience. Why they made it harder for women to then reach that. I don't
agree.
know.
I think that generation of women in particular... I think they went through generational trauma. I think for them to get to where they got to, they had really such a hard time. They felt they had to pass it down. It's a little bit like mother-in-laws. When mother-in-laws have had a really hard time, it gets passed down often, unless you've got someone with empathy who goes, I'm going to put an end to this and I'm not doing this again.
That's really interesting. You know, even as a GP, so I talked about this recently where we do a lot of intimate examinations. We have to do breast examination, genital examinations. To this day, I have never had a man say something like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm smelly, or I haven't shaved, or I haven't done this. But the amount of women, the moment they undress, they'll be like, oh, sorry, doctor, I haven't shaved, or sorry, my legs are hairy, or sorry. And I every single time I have to say, it's your body. You do not need to apologize for me. You be you. My job is to examine you. I'm not here to judge anything. And it just, honestly, after a while, it made me think, has a man, has he ever said sorry for how he smelled? No, they haven't. And it's, but in a way, it must be so empowering to be a man that you can just exist and be you, whereas a woman has to apologize for her just existence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I talked about it on social media and loads of people were like, that's so true, I always feel conscious if da-da-da. And I was like, how interesting.
Do you think
know what
guys
I mean?
don't feel judged when they're naked?
I don't think so.
Do you think
not as a
quite
doctor.
relaxed?
I think they're really relaxed, yeah.
Really?
I think so. I don't think...
I went for my pap smear today and I
Well done. High five. Cervical screening. Well done.
I know, but I was just like... but even I was like subconscious and I've had two kids.
But that's
like,
an intimate exam,
It
right?
is, yeah. It is very intimate.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, God, you're completely right. You're right.
Yeah.
I think just generally...
It's interesting. Is it something to think about? Like, who makes the rules?
Yeah.
Who are they made for? Who is it being imparted on? Yeah. And what's our role in shifting the paradigm?
Yeah.
I think that's where that goes.
I think this is part of it. If you have women in the top rungs of everything and open the door for the next set of women and encourage and train them...
It's different.
It's going to that becomes equality, and the future.
But even
is
with
better
men,
for kids.
it's not to say that all men are bad. Men are great and they're amazing. And the ones who are, let's say, woke about this stuff, if you have them on your side, who actually see women as just women and cerebrally equal to men, I think game over.
We need allies. Allies are essential. Honestly, like my husband's an ally for women. Meaning because you know what. It's quite a hard thing for a guy to go, do you know, I'm going to give up my seat at the table for you to have a seat at the table. Or I'm going to give up my views or my privilege or my easy access to this X, Y, and Z to make your life easier. That's, if they've grown up thinking a woman is there to serve them, for them to suddenly turn around and say, no, actually, I'm going to do the laundry and I'm going to do the dishes and I'm going to do all these things that extra work for me. to make your life easier, that requires quite a lot of empathy and emotional maturity. Not a lot of men are going to go, oh, let me go and do extra work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we need actually men to step up and go, really, you should be doing 50%. If your wife's going out to work and she's doing X, Y, and Z, why are you not matching her at home? It just should be completely normal. But it needs to be a conversation between the men in the locker room, you know, the boys' locker room. That chat needs to change from women being objects to get and actually become equal partners
in the game of life, let's say.
In the game of
isn't
life,
it?
yeah.
it's not just that
a numbers
intro,
game,
no.
you know?
I think, and I hope things change, and I think they will. I'm positive. I want to be optimistic. They will.
Yeah.
But I think people have to kind of rock the boat a little bit, otherwise it won't. Because some people, let's be honest, are happy with how things are. Men and women. Some are happy playing the traditional roles, and no one's here to question them or something. But I just think there is a new cohort coming up where you want a bit more from life.
Yeah.
You want a bit more of
equality.
Equality from life.
Equality.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's interesting, actually. It'd be good to know how many women are happy being subservient, truly subservient, and how many are being forced to be that way.
Because they don't feel like they have a choice. Yeah,
they don't have a choice. Maybe they don't have the financial ability to get out of it, or they've got family pressures that are keeping them there.
Yeah.
You know, family pressure can be enough for you to stay in an abusive situation or a situation you're miserable in.
Yeah.
And I think it's up to women who are visible to have those conversations.
Yeah. And they're hard conversations. They're not easy, are they?
Yeah.
They're hard.
They're
because
hard.
you're going to be the topic at the next kitty party. You're going to be the topic at the next WhatsApp group, and you just have to take that on your board. So girls, if you're out there, get the conversation started.
I'm sure I've been the topic of many kitty parties.
Okay, so from there, let's go on to a fun rapid fire.
Oh,
okay,
no.
I know you love these.
Fast for me. It's like a slow rapid fire.
Like, this is the least rapid fire I've ever done. Okay, so you know the drill. Questions, first thing that comes to mind. Okay, it should be easy peasy for you. Okay, your best skincare product.
My antioxidant serum, because it's got retinaldehyde and retinol and tetrahexyldecoylascorbate, it is truly amazing, and an airless pump. There's just no other better antioxidant serum in the world.
She said that really quick, so I trust her. Your hair care pet peeve.
Oil on the scalp is such a mistake, and it gives you this instant hydration. It feels relaxing. You feel like you're doing something good for your scalp, but it increases dandruff, increases malassezia folliculitis, and then you get more flaky skin.
But we use it for treatment for seborrheic dermatitis in babies.
Not oil. You would want to use ketoconazole shampoo, or you use ketoconazole cream. You wouldn't use oil directly on the scalp.
For infants, we do say that.
For babies, it's different.
Okay,
because they've got a different reason for, so they're different. But for adults, it's just increased flakiness, and then you get into a vicious cycle. And they keep oiling, but they don't realize they're feeding the microbe, and so they get more dandruff. So it's just, we don't do that. Stick with your Nizoral shampoo or your ketoconazole
as relaxing
shampoo.
as it may be, guys. Don't put oil on
strands, but not on the actual scalp.
Okay. Favorite food to eat?
Favorite food to eat? Hummus. I know.
What?
I love hummus. And crackers is my favorite.
That's your favorite?
I love it.
Wait, do you put chili or something in it?
Yeah, loads of Tabasco. Actually, I have like chicken, cheese.
Out of all the things, hummus?
This is literally,
Oh my God. I can't. Favorite destination to travel to?
Have been to or want to go to?
Want to go to.
I want to go to Bali.
Okay. You haven't been?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I haven't either. Okay. Maybe we should go together.
We should go together. It's so far.
No, we'll go.
We'll go together.
One person you look up to.
So many people I look up to.
Name one.
My mum and dad. Oh, that's such a cliche.
No,
answer.
but that's fair. That's fair.
But
you needed advice on love. Who was the first person you're going to call?
My husband.
No, you need advice
on him.
On
him.
love. You're not going to call your
brother.
Your brother.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. If you could tell one thing to the 15-year-old Vanita, what would it be?
It's going to be okay. You've got this. Everything you need is inside you. And don't worry about anyone else. You just focus on what you want, and you give it everything you've got, and it will happen.
Whoa. I mean, could you go back and tell my 15-year-old self that? That was amazing. That wasn't too bad. Well done. Okay, now, remember I was telling you about these pearls?
No.
So these are our pearls of wisdom.
Okay.
They all have a topic written on them. You pick one.
Okay.
Depending on the topic, you're going to tell us your pearl of wisdom on that topic.
Okay. How interesting.
Just shake it around.
Okay. Ooh.
Hope you can read my writing.
Marriage. Okay, so my pearl of wisdom on marriage. My pearl of wisdom marriage is both of your goal is to make the other person as happy as possible and to do everything you can to help the other person hit their goals and their dreams. It's not a competition. It really is a collaboration to create the most beautiful life together and give stability to your kids so that they know what to aspire to and what to replicate.
Wow, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. You know, it's interesting because I've seen so many videos and trends of it's not my job to worry about your happiness. It's not my job. If my partner's unhappy, that's on them. They need to find their happiness, and then both of us need to come together and give happiness. And I hear where they're coming from, but I think I'm more of the school of thought of what you just said. I think love is a verb. It's a doing thing. It is a bit of self-sacrifice. It is a bit of putting the other person first. And I would agree with what you said, actually.
Yeah.
So I see all those videos. And
I see those too.
I respect it where they're coming from. But I truly do think we as humans, we want companionship, you want partnership. And everything is about that, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, I would even argue that my husband's probably better at knowing what makes me happy than even I do. Yeah. Or he knows when I'm about to start my period. He knows if I've taken on too much work and apparently I have red flags and I don't know what these red flags are, but he will sense it and he will just start deleting everything from my phone, like my diary.
Stop.
He will just start clearing my diary, saying you're taking the full day off and you just need to relax. You're not allowed to even think about work. Or
but V, that's come from years of building and trust. You're at that point now, right? And that's come from this young girl who kept that list, had her little system, did the whole thing, and now she's sitting here being able to say this. So it just goes to show, right? That's incredible.
Oh,
thank you for sharing such personal, deep, meaningful things about your life with us.
Pleasure.
Honestly, it was an absolute honor to have you.
Oh, thank you.
As guests leave, I ask them, if they want, you can ask me one question.
Okay. Oh, are you sure?
I'm sure.
What is your... You don't have to share it, but if you want to, what is the really massive dream that you have, the one that you're so scared to even say out loud because it's just terrifying, is that big?
Only you would ask me something so terrifying. Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I don't think I've dreamt that yet.
Okay.
That is the honest truth.
Yeah.
Because nothing that I'm thinking of in my mind right now scares me that much.
Right. Good.
Most of the things I want to do, I know what to do to get there.
Yeah.
So I feel like when I have that scary dream, I promise to send you a voice note.
Let me know.
I will, because then you'll tell me, yes, V, this is scary enough.
This is terrifying. I'll help you, whatever it is.
I fully believe you will.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys, this is Dr. Vanita Rattan. I'm going to leave all her handles below, her Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Please feel free to write to either me or her with any of the questions you had of the topics we talked about today, or just general life questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yes.